With the passage of time, the two of us fell silent. The wine glasses were empty, the topics of conversation were exhausted. What was left was the epilogue.
You're right. Time to end all this.
The girl put down her can and walked towards me with a kitchen knife. She didn't even see the mighty glass shards on the floor. The edged knife pointing at me flashed for danger. A simple push, and that would be the end of my life. She stopped suddenly. Her hands weren't trembling, nor did she seem confused. She just observed me calmly. The rain echoed in the room, along with the shallow breathing of the two of us.
Aren't you scared?
Are you going to kill me? I stared right back into her gaze. In the darkness, her eyes shined like stars. In those eyes, I saw myself, exhausted but fearless.
You really aren't scared.
Her expression relaxed. She lowered the hand that held the knife. There's a note of frustration in her voice. I don't think you really do it.
Is that so? I couldn't even be a good kidnapper. What a shame.
She cut through the rope around my legs. After finally receiving freedom after all these days, I found a sensation extremely unfamiliar. Eagerly tried to move my legs. There were bruises where the rope used to be, as though they weren't part of my own body. Instead of supporting myself against the wall, finally looking at her from eye level, I realized she wasn't actually that tall. She still pointed the knife at me. Dim lamplight lit her exhausted yet determined face.
If you really feel there's no difference, then please help them. As you said, they're just unlucky.
They. What choice of word got my attention? Why not us?
And one more thing.
She hesitated briefly before opening her mouth.
Mr. Ken is the one who your mother had an affair with. He's the one who told me your information.
Wait, are you saying...
Apparently she liked to cry about her family every time she got drunk. Probably never thought of this outcome at all.
The sudden inflow of information rendered me speechless. She kicked my backpack to my feet.
That's all. Take your stuff and get out. Follow the road and you'll find houses in 10 minutes.
What about you?
None of your business. I have something else to do.
Like killing yourself?
How did you?
Simple words, yet effective. She stared at me dumbfounded, not knowing how I saw through her secret plan. So that's what her decision was. She didn't get the money, yet chose to let me go. She also didn't try to run. Knowing her past, I could only guess what the medicine on the desk was for.
And so what? Are you trying to talk me out of it?
Recovered from the shock, she started to laugh hysterically, like twirling her hair.
I'm done with this. I can only restart everything by doing that.
Poverty was like a bottomless pit that I could never get out of. I'm afraid of seeing myself having the same exact life in the next few years, or next decades, or to death. She might have made this decision after seeing that future.
Save it. If you want to help me, then shut up and get the hell out ASAP.
I wanted to save her, but didn't know what to do. In this capitalistic society, where everything was decided by natural probability, I learned how powerless I was. The world isn't fair. I remember the same words, now finally with an answer to that statement. We can't make everyone equal. There would always be differences in our intelligence and capability as genes dictated. Therefore, all the more reason for us to find a way to fix it. The world might be a machine, but we're more than just the screws. We can change how it operates. If the machine is broken, we should try to fix.
Enough. Let me at least pick how to go.
Her smile was tired, but determined. I tried to retort, but the words were stuck in my throat. If someone had nothing left but their choice of death, what right did we have to stop her?
If you mean what you said, then prove it to me.
I'll prove it to you. That all this can be changed. So, would you believe me? She stared at me silently, with no answer. Too much disappointment had forced her to grow beyond a child believing blindly in fairy tales. My decision wouldn't help her at all. The debt was still there, as there was the legal prosecution. She still had to face them all, and all I could offer was a promise.
Here.
She gave me a piece of paper before I left.
Please take care of Eileen for me.
She told me quietly. Hey, don't dump your troubles on me.
Shut up. Bye.
Realizing staying here wouldn't change anything, I picked up my backpack. The weight of it felt a little surreal. Will we ever meet again? I asked her before I left. She paused and started chuckling.
Nope.
With a deep breath, I pushed open the door and walked into the rain without looking back. The storm instantly made my clothes soaking wet. My body began to tremble from the cold, making it hard to even stand up straight. The rain blurred my vision. I couldn't tell where I was even heading, so I moved forward, one slow step at a time. Damn it! In my haze, I tripped an exposed tree root. As I fell, I brushed up alongside one of its branches, which cut right through my skin. I couldn't help but scream out in pain. With my strength fading, I collapsed to the floor and tried to stabilize my breathing. I turned over and looked up into the dark sky. The cold touch of the raindrops on my face brought me to a state of clarity. Is this the only outcome possible? I couldn't get the look on her face out of my mind. I wanted to stop her from going through with it. I wanted to tell her there was another way through this, but I knew that wasn't the truth. I'm afraid of seeing myself having the exact life for the next few years, next decades, or till death. She feared the future. Thus death became the easy escape. I had no right to interfere her choice. I could neither change her fate nor shoulder her burden. The only thing I can do is accept reality. Even with this sense of powerlessness, there are things I still need to do. I let out a sigh and slowly got back to my feet, despite my shaking legs. A troublesome promise to make. I grasped tightly on the paper she handed me and started walking. Late Night Street was almost empty. There wasn't even a food stand due to a terminated construction project, and only a few passengers who pulled up their collars and were eager to get home. It's been 4 years already, huh? It was also this cold that day. I was sent to the hospital after escaping. The case was closed right after police took my statement. The police found the girl in an abandoned apartment, but couldn't get any information from her. There's no evidence of the involvement of Mr. Ken, so it was treated as a regular abduction incident, and that was the end of the investigation. Perhaps this was what she wanted. I was depressed by the predictable result. I could only comfort myself with that thought. Through the note she left me, I got in contact with Miss Wang, and eventually met her quiet sister. I managed to piece the story together from Miss Wang. Due to failed investments, their father accumulated an enormous amount of debt and abandoned the family. The mother had to shelter the family since then, but between the debt collection attempts and working, eventually she broke down and ended her life. Without family or a place to live, the sisters were eventually helped by their mother's co-worker, Ms. Wang. Despite having a job and a place to live, they were still constantly getting harassed, which made the girl decide to take the risk. I told her many times they could at least manage at my place, but she wouldn't listen. Hearing her words, I couldn't reply. Seeing the wrinkles on her face and paint marks on the wall, I could guess why she made that decision. She wanted to escape from this life that was forced upon her. She wanted a life of her own that didn't involve others.
Sorry, cram school took longer than usual.
I was back to my senses when I saw a girl wearing a coat walking towards me. Her voice still sounded like a little childlike, but sister had grown up for sure. Knowing of the death of her big sister, she chose to seclude herself from the rest of the world. She didn't cry nor speak, but only sat in her room, quietly. I couldn't really take her sister's place, so all I could do was accompany her till she sorted it all out herself. Eventually, she opened her mouth, grew much quieter than before, was even more afraid of socializing. Perhaps in an attempt to follow her sister, she grew her hair out as well, which is now spreading in the wind. No problem. How's life?
It's okay. I'm preparing for exams.
With the help of the social welfare department, she returned to school and used her off time to make some money with handicrafts. She was behind others at the same age, but she was catching up to society.
You?
Busy as always, if only there were 48 hours in a day. My life had grown busy thanks to the promise I made. I took courses on social welfare and participated in volunteer work. I started to witness the darkest corners of this society and difficulty behind changing them. I even asked myself if I could really change anything. Thankfully, I always managed to keep moving forward after meeting her. Nothing was changed? I don't think so. At least, I could support her to move on and change her life. The world might be unfair. All these dark corners make us feel powerless against it. We can't even give a hand to others when we're occupied with our own lives. However, if we face a problem, there must be something we can do. Let's go home. From the scarf from the girl, I spoke to her softly. The moon was high in the sky, guarding our safe return. It might be wavery, it might be dim, yet it guided people's direction all the same. That's right. Like a light in the dark. Just do more. So we can skip past all the dialogue we've seen before.
Okay.
There we go. No. It can't end like this. Why is she paying for this? Why surrender yourself to reality? Before I realized it, I started running back to the building. The cold wind cut through my skin like tiny sharp knives. My body ached in protest to my impulsive actions. I could barely even breathe, yet my mind has never been more clear. I won't allow it. My motivation was so simple. No matter how harsh her future may be, what would be even the best option to take, I just knew that I wanted her to live. No need of complicated reasons. No need to convince anyone. These thoughts were enough to drive my forward. They say rain is the tears that God shed for the heartbroken. They say that rain is the water cast by the divine to cleanse our sins. Girl rested her head near the window, and watching the never-ending rain, memories started to flow into her mind. Those that she kept consciously, those that she refused to face, and those that she thought she had forgotten. Must be the medicine. She was losing grip of her consciousness. Her head was heavy as if she had a hangover. She recalled the kidnapping event, her father, her mother who ended her life. She had hated him for abandoning them, and her for showing weakness before pressure. She thought of Ai Ling, her sister who never experienced real joy. She didn't know her sister was doing well or if she was safe. Strangely enough, there wasn't that much emotion as she recalled this. There's a bit of regret and sadness, but nothing else seemed to matter. Finally, the person she kidnapped. She wanted to torment those self-righteous people, make them taste the same fear and hunger. However, the more time they spent together, the less she understood. Was he just someone special, or was the distance between the two of them not quite as far apart as she thought? We aren't different. We were just unlucky. This was the first time someone told her that. She had been pushing herself and refused to show any weakness before others, until hearing that line that she realized just how much she did crave for recognition. She wanted someone to tell her that this wasn't her fault, that we were all the same. Even coming from different upbringings and different social classes, could the two truly understand each other? It was getting difficult to think, with someone else to handle the complicated questions. One last cigarette was lit. The smell perked her up a little, but she no longer had the strength to hold it up. She left it on the desk and let the familiar scent permeate through the room. She purposefully laid her head on the desk. She would world around her started to blur. Irresistible sleepiness took over her body. So tired. She deserved a rest after doing this much, right? She couldn't even feel the cold now. Her body grew heavy, even light. Slowly her consciousness also began to fade away. And the sound of rain was fading, only to be replaced by silence. The vision began to white out. And to restart your life at a place that no one knows about you? That's impossible. You paid off the debt. Some words came to mind. She weakly smiled. It's possible. Let go of all the labels and find a place to restart your life. Her fading consciousness was brought back by an abrupt sound. She could barely hear the sound of hurried steps climbing up the stairs, and soon a force began shaking her shoulder. Who? Why? What? She had countless questions, but no strength to open her eyes. Amidst the confusion, she heard a familiar voice. I won't let you die on me. Never! You bastard. She tried to curse, but she couldn't muster it. She couldn't let her body be carried up by him. He was so close, she could hear his heavy breathing. The sound gave her a sense of security. It's just like that time when her family was still complete, including her father. It was that peaceful, happy memory which she desperately tried to pursue the few past years. Yet, at a certain point, she could barely remember this sensation anymore, an associated memory. She quietly closed her eyes, lost consciousness upon his warm shoulder. Dawn, the only moments of serenity in the hospital. In the late night, troublemakers have fallen asleep. You can only hear the steps of nurses on shift, suppressed. Hey, I guess this is your narration.
Mine?
Yeah.
Even the late night troublemakers have fallen asleep. I can only hear the steps of nurses on shift and suppressed coughs from time to time. While walking towards the sick room, I began to recall the events from past few days.
Okay, never mind.
Oh.
I dragged her away from the building that night. I found someone to call for an ambulance before I passed out myself. I could see upon Waking up was a spotless ceiling and unique scent of disinfectants filling the room. I saw a few bruises and malnutrition. I was fine. They let me go after half a day of observation. Same gloomy sky, same trashy news, same old debate among politicians. Is this how Urashima Taro felt when you returned from the Dragon Palace? The sense of being forgotten by time as though everything you experienced was nothing but a dream. Well, the dream has ended alright, but she and I need to continue moving forward. I stopped before the sick room knocked. I'm coming in. Receiving no answer, no response, I walked into the room anyway. Upon entering, I saw she was sitting on the bed, her gaze is locked. Her usual scarf was swapped to the gray patient dress, which made her almost unrecognizable, except that good old glare filled with animosity. Reminded me of all that I'd gone through, whether it be her expression of gratitude or rage, recalled her teary account of the tragic life she had. Yet none of those left an impression on her face. She looked just like the first time I met her, hiding all her emotions deep inside. Yo, you seem to be doing well here. A mixture of relief and a tiny bit of disappointment, I greeted her, and I surprisingly got a disgusted response.
Doing well? Try having your stomach pumped for a whole day and then tell me how you feel.
At least your life is saved, so stop complaining.
I didn't ask you to save me.
I'm aware of that. She raised her eyebrow yet again and glared at me, void of any sign of gratitude. I simply shrugged. I never need to play along now that we no longer in the kidnapper-hostage relationship. We stared at each other for a moment, till she finally gave in.
Why?
Her body relaxed, her voice turned to a quiet mumble.
You think you're helping me? You find it heroic to save your kidnapper of all people? Or do you want to make sure I get sent to jail? I don't want that. But I know my life won't change for the next 10 years, or even 30 years. Tell me, how long do you think I'll be in jail? What kind of future is there for a high school dropout with a criminal record? Do you understand now? Do you think you're helping me?
She had a bit of difficulty saying those words. The statement was not unlike her attempted suicide, both to deny herself. My action made no sense to her. I was just fulfilling my own sense of justice by interfering in someone else's life, and disregarding what would happen next. You might be right. I can only imagine all the trouble awaiting you in jail or even after. Maybe death is an easier way out.
So
Isn't that a bit selfish? What about others? What about your sister?
Shut up. Stop acting like you understand.
I did this for myself. The life ahead would be rough. I want you to live on nonetheless. I interrupted her and gave my conclusion without hesitation. I was able to sort out my thoughts thanks to the rain. It's not about what is best for her, but what I want to do. I don't want her to die. I don't want to see her sister's tears. I don't want this to be the end. Selfish or not, I want to prove to her that society is not beyond saving, just like her life. I have this feeling. Our society sucks, but we still need to struggle within it regardless.
Why is that?
We're all in the gutter. Some of us are looking at the stars.
What?
I somehow quoted Oscar Wilde there. I tried to explain the quote, but I couldn't find a better way to put it. Anyway, I can't bring myself to allow you to let it all go like that. Life's not that easy.
You really are the worst.
My apologies, but that's how messed up my personality is. As long as I breathe, I'll let you die that easily.
You're crazy.
She muttered her last complaint, still not accepting my way of thinking. Also, Ms. Wang told me your sister hasn't slept the past few days. She's been staring at the TV screen, waiting for news about you. It was just for her. Can you keep going a little longer? She averted her gaze upon hearing about her sister. It's only natural for her not being able to adjust her emotions this quickly. She needs to figure it out for herself. If it is death she wants, then no one can really stop her. Police outside gave me a gesture, indicating I should end the discussion soon so I can proceed with the investigation. Whether it be the true culprit or about her family, it's not much to ask, but I should leave the rest to the police. I'm sure we'll meet again. She called out to me as I put on my coat, readying to leave.
I was by myself when I woke up this morning. I opened the shades trying to figure out the time and saw the sunrise. Even the clouds were sparkling. It was beautiful. I don't recall ever seeing such a beautiful sky before.
There was this rare sign of softness on her face as she recalled the scenery she witnessed. Some burden, stressed less happiness in its purest form upon seeing something beautiful.
I don't know what will happen, but perhaps that may be one of the things to live for.
I followed her gaze and looked out at the sky as well. It's just like in that abandoned apartment where she also stared outside of the window all the time. Back then, like she was staring at somewhere far away that I couldn't see. I wanted to know what she was looking at. But now, we're looking at the same exact scenery. It is beautiful, indeed.